The camera zooms in slowly, capturing the gleam of a pristine classic Mustang. It's parked under a flickering streetlight, the only thing in the quiet neighborhood that seems to shine this bright. The world around it is dark, but this car stands out, almost as if it's waiting for something. The Mustang is more than just a car, it's a symbol, a piece of history. Its shiny chrome glints in the dim light, reflecting the glow of the nearby street lamp. Its sleek body tells stories of days long past, a time when it ruled the roads. People who pass by can't help but stop and admire it, some even slowing down to get a better look. It's not just any car, it's a classic, and the neighborhood knows it. We see a figure standing off to the side in the shadows. It's the thief. He watches from a distance, eyes fixed on the Mustang. He's been planning this for a while now. He knows the value of the car, the potential payout. There's a certain thrill in the risk, but it's also just business for him. His movements are smooth as he shifts into position, staying out of sight. He knows this neighborhood. He knows the Mustang's owner isn't home, and tonight he's going to steal it. But something feels different tonight. There's a slight chill in the air, a feeling of unease creeping in. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something unexpected to happen. The thief takes one more glance around. Everything is quiet. Everything is perfect. And with that he steps forward. The night is still, the kind of silence that makes every sound stand out. The thief crouches low behind a parked car, watching the Mustang carefully. His eyes narrow as he scans the street. The neighborhood is quiet, just like he expected. Everyone's asleep, unaware of the plan that's unfolding. He checks his watch. It's almost the perfect time. There's no one around for blocks, and the owner of the Mustang won't be home for hours. This is the moment he's been waiting for. The thief moves slowly, deliberately, as he approaches the Mustang. His footsteps are almost soundless on the pavement. He stops just a few feet away from the car, taking in the sight of it once more. The Mustang's polished surface reflects the pale light from the street lamps, almost making it look like it's glowing. It's a beautiful car, and he's about to make it his. His hands reach into his jacket pocket, pulling out a small black device. He presses a button, and for a moment there's a faint click. The alarm on the car deactivates with a soft beep. He smiles to himself. The tools he carries are precise, professional. He's done this before, many times. He knows exactly what he's doing. His fingers work quickly, knowing that time is limited. He pulls out a slim tool and expertly starts to work on the door's lock, twisting and turning it with careful precision. It only takes a few seconds before the door gives way. He carefully slides it open, making sure not to make a sound. The interior light flickers on as the door opens, casting a brief glow on the seats and the dashboard. The thief pauses for a moment, eyes scanning the inside of the car. The Mustang's leather seats look untouched. The steering wheel gleams under the light. Everything is exactly as he expected. He steps inside, taking a deep breath. His pulse quickens, but his hands stay steady. The rush of anticipation fills his chest. He's close now. The car is his, just a few more steps, and he's in control. But as he begins to adjust the seat, a faint rustle from behind him catches his attention. He freezes. Something's off. He quickly glances over his shoulder. Nothing. It's just the wind. Still the unease lingers, a feeling that something isn't quite right. The thief pauses, his breath shallow. As the rustling sound in the bushes grows louder, he tenses, instincts kicking in. His eyes dart to the shadows, scanning the area. Nothing. Just the wind, he tells himself. But there's something unsettling about the quiet tonight. He takes a deep breath, turning his focus back to the Mustang. His fingers grip the steering wheel, and for a brief moment he feels the power of the car beneath him. It's his now, or at least it will be in just a few more seconds. But then, another sound. This time it's more distinct. A crunch of gravel, deliberate but soft. The thief freezes, his heart pounding. From the darkness at the edge of the street, a figure steps forward. At first he can't make out much. Just the silhouette of someone tall and broad-shouldered. The figure wears a wide-brimmed hat, casting a shadow over their face. The dim light doesn't reveal much else, but the presence is undeniable. The thief doesn't move. He stands still, not wanting to draw attention to himself. But the figure keeps coming, their footsteps slow but steady, like they have all the time in the world. The thief's gut tightens. The figure finally emerges from the shadows, just a few feet away now. Even in the low light, there's no mistaking him. It's Clint Eastwood. The thief's eyes widen. He's seen the man on TV before, in old westerns and crime movies. But this is different. The man before him is no longer the younger Clint Eastwood of the movies. He's older now, his face lined with the years but still carrying that unshakable aura of authority. His eyes, though sharp, cold, calculating, are just as powerful as they've always been. Clint doesn't speak at first, he just stands there, watching the thief with a calm that feels almost unnatural. There's no rush in his movements, he just stands in the dim light looking at the thief, sizing him up. The thief shifts uneasily, his heart beating faster. He hadn't expected this, he hadn't planned for it. And now this unexpected stranger seems to be the biggest problem he's faced all night. Clint takes a step forward, his boots crunch softly against the gravel. "You know," Clint says slowly, his voice deep and steady, "you should have picked a different car." The thief's eyes dart back and forth, trying to read Clint's face, but it's impossible. Clint's expression is unreadable, his gaze steady and unwavering. There's something about the way Clint stands, like he's been through countless situations like this. His silence speaks volumes, and it makes the thief nervous. The thief instinctively shifts his weight, subtly positioning himself between Clint and the Mustang. His hand brushes against the inside of his jacket, where he keeps a small concealed weapon. A knife. It's a cheap tool, but it'll get the job done, or at least he hopes it will. Clint notices the movement, but doesn't flinch. His eyes remain locked on the thief. There's no fear in Clint, only a calm certainty that unsettles the thief even more. "What's your plan here?" Clint's voice is low, almost a whisper, but it carries. The thief's hand tightens on the hilt of the knife. He tries to sound confident, but there's a tremor in his voice. "I'm just here for the car, nothing personal." Clint's lips curl into a small knowing smile. A car isn't worth dying for. The thief sneers, trying to regain control of the situation. "You don't know who you're dealing with. I've got a job to do, and you're in the way, so why don't you just step aside?" Clint doesn't move. He stands taller now, his presence more imposing. The thief steps closer, trying to intimidate him with his size and the blade hidden under his jacket. Clint watches every move, every muscle twitch, as if he's seen it all before. "I'm not stepping aside," Clint says, his voice still calm, but firm. "Not for you, not for anyone." The thief's patience is running thin. He raises the knife, aiming it directly at Clint's chest. "Last chance," he warns, his voice shaky but determined. "Move." But Clint's movements are too fast. With the smoothness of someone who's been in this kind of situation 100 times, Clint grabs the thief's wrist before he can strike. The thief is caught off guard, the knife slipping from his hand as Clint twists his arm, locking it behind his back. The thief gasps, unable to break free. His heart races, but Clint doesn't give him a chance to react. Clint pulls him closer, their faces just inches apart. "You should have picked a different night," Clint murmurs, his voice barely audible. In an instant Clint lets go of the thief's arm, but only to push him away with a sudden force. The thief stumbles, falling back onto the gravel, shocked by the speed and power behind Clint's move. For a moment neither of them moves. The thief, breathing hard, realizes he's lost control of the situation. He looks up at Clint, who remains unfazed, his stance steady and unyielding. The thief hesitates. He knows he's outmatched, but instead of backing down, he reaches into his pocket, pulling out another small weapon, this time a gun. Clint doesn't react right away, he simply watches the thief's hand as it tightens around the gun, waiting for the right moment. The thief's hand shakes as he points the gun at Clint. The tension in the air thickens. For a moment it feels like everything has come to a standstill. The street, the Mustang, the quiet neighborhood, it all fades into the background. It's just the two of them now. Clint's eyes narrow slightly, but his posture doesn't change. He stands still, calm, as if he's seen this before. His gaze remains steady on the gun, not the thief. There's no fear, no hesitation in Clint, but something shifts in the thief's eyes, a flicker of doubt. "I told you to move." The thief grits through clenched teeth, his finger tightening around the trigger. Clint doesn't say anything. Instead, he watches the thief closely. It's almost as if Clint knows something the thief doesn't. Suddenly the thief lowers the gun slightly, his breath comes faster now, more ragged. Something in Clint's calm demeanor is making him uneasy. The power dynamics are shifting, but the thief doesn't want to admit it. "I'm not just some random guy," the thief says. His voice quieter now, but there's an edge to it. "I didn't just choose this car on a whim." Clint tilts his head, raising an eyebrow. The thief looks at him, eyes darting nervously. "I was hired," the thief continues, almost reluctantly. "By someone who's been tracking you." Clint's expression doesn't change, but there's a subtle shift in his posture. His eyes narrow even further, the gears in his mind starting to turn. "You're telling me you're not here for the Mustang?" Clint asks, his voice calm, but now with a hint of intrigue. The thief shakes his head, the fear beginning to show in his eyes. "No, the car's just a bonus. I was supposed to grab you, bring you in." He takes a deep breath. "They've been watching you. They know who you are." Clint doesn't flinch. He's heard this before, people thinking they can outsmart him, outmaneuver him. But something about this feels different. The thief isn't lying, there's genuine fear in his eyes, and it's not just about getting caught. The thief steps back, the gun wavering in his hands. "I don't want any part of this anymore. But it's too late. They'll come after you, Clint. They'll come for both of us." Clint doesn't respond at first. He takes a slow, deliberate step forward, his eyes never leaving the thief's. "You should have chosen a different night," Clint repeats, his voice now cold and sharp. The thief's eyes widen in panic. It's too late now, he realizes. There's no way out. The thief's pulse races. He looks from Clint to the gun, still gripped tightly in his hand, but something in Clint's cold, unflinching gaze makes him hesitate. For the briefest moment, he wonders if this is a mistake. If he should just drop the gun and walk away, but then the thought vanishes. Fear takes over. He's too deep into this. The people who hired him won't let him get away. They'll come after him if he fails. And they won't be forgiving. The thief raises the gun again, aiming it directly at Clint's chest. His hand shakes slightly, but he doesn't care. He has to follow through. There's no turning back now. Clint doesn't even flinch. His eyes remain locked on the thief's, calm and steady. He's seen this before. He knows the fear that lurks in the other man's eyes. He can sense it, desperation. "Last chance," the thief snarls, his voice trembling. "Step away from me, now." Clint's response is simple, almost a whisper, but it's enough to make the thief freeze. "You don't get to make the rules here." Without warning, Clint's body moves with speed and precision. His hand shoots forward, grabbing the thief's wrist with a force that takes him by surprise. The gun is knocked from his hand in one swift motion, landing on the ground with a metallic clatter. Before the thief can react, Clint steps into him, knocking him off balance and sending him stumbling backward. He crashes into a nearby trash can, the sound of it tipping over loud in the silence of the night. The thief tries to regain his footing, but Clint is already there, standing over him. Clint doesn't waste time. He grabs the thief's collar and yanks him up to his feet. The thief struggles, but Clint's grip is unyielding. "You're done," Clint mutters under his breath, his voice low and steady. "This ends now." The thief's eyes dart around, searching for an escape, but Clint is too close. The alleyway offers no way out. He's trapped. Suddenly the thief does the only thing he can think of. He lunges forward, trying to take Clint by surprise, his fist aimed for Clint's stomach. But Clint is quicker. His arm shoots out, blocking the blow with ease. He uses the momentum of the thief's attack to spin him around, locking his arm behind his back in a painful hold. The thief grunts in pain, struggling to break free, but Clint is in complete control. He presses the thief's face into the cold concrete, forcing him down until he's pinned. Stay down, Clint warns in a low growl. The thief's breath comes in ragged gasps, his body trembling beneath Clint's grip. He tries to push himself up, but Clint's weight is too much, his hold too firm. For a moment, the world goes silent again, save for the thief's labored breathing. Clint stands over him, not saying a word, just watching. The thief knows it's over, but Clint doesn't move right away. He waits. He knows the thief isn't done yet. The struggle isn't over. Not yet. The thief lies motionless on the ground, his body trembling beneath Clint's weight, his face is pressed hard into the cold concrete, and his breath comes in shallow, uneven gasps. Clint doesn't let up. His hand remains firm on the thief's back, keeping him down. He knows the situation is far from over. The thief lets out a frustrated, muffled groan, but doesn't try to break free again. He's too exhausted, too defeated. The adrenaline has faded, leaving him with nothing but the realization that he's lost, that he's caught. Clint takes a deep breath, his chest rising and falling steadily. For a long moment, he simply stands there, looking down at the thief, waiting. He's seen this before, the desperate thief, the misplaced confidence, the sense that they can somehow get away. It's always the same, but Clint knows how this ends. The distant sound of a car engine revs in the distance. It's faint at first, but it's growing louder. Clint's eyes narrow, and a quick look of concern flashes across his face. The thief, still pinned to the ground, seems to hear it too. His eyes widen in sudden recognition. He struggles to turn his head, but Clint's hand presses harder into his back. The engine grows louder, closer. Clint can hear the screeching of tires, the unmistakable sound of a high-powered car speeding toward them. They're coming, the thief mutters, his voice filled with dread. His tone is different now, quieter, more fearful. Clint doesn't flinch. He looks down at the thief, his expression cold and unyielding. "Who are they?" Clint asks, his voice low. The thief doesn't answer immediately. He looks at Clint, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and resignation. He knows he's in no position to make demands or keep secrets anymore. The people who hired him aren't the type to let anything slip, and they're coming. "It's not just about you anymore," the thief says, his voice hoarse. "They'll come after anyone who gets in their way." Clint's jaw tightens. The wheels are turning in his mind. He doesn't need to hear more to know that this isn't over. Not yet. The sound of the car's engine now roars close, the headlights shining through the darkness, illuminating the street. Clint takes one last look at the thief, his grip still firm, but no longer holding him down as tightly. This night is far from over, a new threat is on the horizon, and Clint is ready.